This show seriously is a roller coaster of emotions. Hands down, this is my favorite episode of the season so far, and it's for multiple different reasons. So pretty much the episode begins with Ashi looking for Jack after he disappeared at the end of the previous episode. What ends up happening is that Ashi runs into different creatures and otherwise that were affected by Samurai Jack, how he saved them and otherwise, to the point that she begins opening her eyes more and more to Samurai Jack's good deeds and otherwise, and also the hope that he's instilled into other people. I mean, she ran into the creatures from I think the 4th episode that were enslaved by these guys. She ran into the archers. She ran into this full-on rave group. She ran into the other samurai that learned from Samurai Jack. She ran into so many different characters, and they were all touched by Samurai Jack in so many different ways that it opened her eyes more and allowed her to finally find Jack at some point, which, at the end of the path where she finally found Jack, Jack was about to commit seppuku. If you have no idea what seppuku is, to give you the basis of it, seppuku is something that Japanese folklore does where you stab a tanto or a sword into your chest and try to drive it upward as high as you can. The higher you drive the sword up, the more honor you bring back to yourself and your family. So basically, this was kind of seen as the only honorable way to go and bring honor back to not only himself but his family when you think about it. That's a very grim and dark way of looking at it, but it's also a very understandable way of looking at it because at that point in time, Jack literally lost all sense of hope. Like, he's given up. He feels like there's no honor left, so this is the only way to not only bring honor back to himself, but to end this madness. But what ends up happening is that Ashi ends up convincing Jack, even fighting the spirit that's making Jack do this, into not going through with it and even saving her life. To the point that at the very end of the episode, he literally says, the only thing we need to, it's time to find my sword. Seriously, this episode was on all cylinders with the emotions. We had so many characters that were from the past, seeing Jack almost go through seppuku and otherwise, and Ashi trying her best not only to go through her changes, but also to change Jack in the right way they needed to, and the very end with him saying that he's finally about to go get his sword, it makes us believe that we are about to reach a resolution pretty soon. So all in all, what do I think about this episode? Super good. Like, this is my favorite episode of the season so far. My favorite was definitely the battle between Jack and the Daughters of Aku, but this one, especially being a Samurai Jack fan, I feel like this episode appeals more to previous Samurai Jack fans more than it does to the newcomers, but the newcomers still get a basic idea of Jack's deeds, how much he did for these people, and Ashi gets that same eye-opening experience. I said this to a friend already, and it's a weird comparison. Jack is like the seasoned watcher, like myself, seeing all these events over and over again and otherwise, whereas Ashi is the new viewer, the one who doesn't know about any of these events, and when they see them, they begin to develop more and more of a connection to Jack. It's a weird comparison, but it's a good one, and this episode solidifies that idea that I came up with. And that's my speed impressions on XCVII.